this is a compressor on screen. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, welcome. We're back in the garage today, taking a look at Harbor Freight air compressor that was not working. There was a previous video of us actually taking it apart and trying to figure out what was wrong with it. And we did figure out what was wrong, but we also did not include any audio in that video. So, just to recap a little bit, we have a compressor here.
Recap, no pun intended.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to what he just said if you can hear that. I don't know, the mic is pretty sensitive here in that it has a very short range. Okay, so this compressor here, and ta-da, okay. It's a Harbor Freight Central Pneumatic 9234. It says it's 4 horsepower and 10 gallons. I don't know if I believe that 4 horsepower part, but yeah, so it would not compress air. That's pretty important since that's its job. Anyway, we found in the previous video, which I'll link to below, that a capacitor had failed and blown its guts out, which we will show right there, if we can get that. And you see the little gray bit down there is actually some of the innards of that capacitor that was spewed out, and you can see the hole there near the lug. And that is the run capacitor, which is very important in single-phase AC motors in order to keep it going. And so, yeah, not really sure why it failed, other than maybe it was a piece of garbage. The compressor had also been sitting for a few years, well, maybe a few months. So that wouldn't initially say that that's what caused it. I'm willing to say that it was just a poor manufacturer, so. And today, we're going to go ahead and replace that capacitor. I guess you can't really see it there. I'll bring it up. Okay, so show you 3 here. The middle one is the one that failed that came off the compressor. This is a bipolar capacitor. It goes in line with the windings, and it's used for air conditioner compressors as well. Speaking of which, if you look at the left, that is a dual capacitor for an air conditioner. A lot of times HVAC equipment will have that because you'll have one capacitor for the fan, which is also an electric fan. Then you have one for the refrigerant compressor. So they just put it into one nice convenient package. Unfortunately, that one that I had on hand, the oil-filled can one on the left, is not the right value for this compressor. So I had to go get a new one, and that is on the right, that gray plastic thing. It's also a different type of capacitor, which in this case isn't that important, the difference in types, at least between these two. It's actually the same type as the one that was on there before. I believe polypropylene. So we're going to go ahead and just put that back in there, and hopefully the compressor just works. And Greg doesn't need to go spend another $100 on another Harbor Freight air compressor.
I would prefer that outcome, yes.
Yeah. So, and also today, the previous video, we tried to be funny and crack wise about how every tool we used was actually a Harbor Freight tool. And if you look closely, yes, a lot of them were all Harbor Freight, except for maybe the wire cutters or something.
The screwdrivers, yeah.
The screwdrivers were actually Harbor Freight. What is their brand? Pittsburgh, I believe. Yeah, Pittsburgh. So anyway, we're fixing a Harbor Freight tool with Harbor Freight tools. And I forgot to bug them on Twitter. Try to get free tools, I guess. I don't know. That doesn't work. But
get more views on your stream at least.
Well, yeah, that doesn't work either when you have 7 Twitter followers. So, okay, so let's get started. I'll go somewhere over here, and we'll talk occasionally throughout. But otherwise, we're basically just going to install a capacitor and make a bunch of noise. So, enjoy. Phillips head screwdrivers. Where are you going?
I don't know.
Okay.
Walking over here to see if we need any help.
Give me number 2 there. And I guess move the mic closer to me so I can yell at it.
It's better than that mic before.
Okay. Well, hopefully this will pick up better than, no audio at all. But this capacitor here. Hi. Yeah, there's the capacitor. I'm acting like the microphone's a camera. Sorry, guys. Is bipolar, so it doesn't matter which way we hook it up, even though there's different colors.
Yeah, it came with spade connectors. You just cut those off because you're going to splice it into the...
Yeah, we're going to connect this with some, I think these may have... No, these aren't from Harbor Freight, but they're just butt connectors. They crimp on. Just one important note, if you've never used something like that, don't try to re-crimp. Like these, they had this type here. And don't try to undo these. Just clip them off. Put new ones on. Can you get some zip ties, that bucket of zip ties over there from the bottom of the parts tray?
Little ones?
No, get the whole thing and we'll figure out the right size here in a minute. Because,
Where'd you get this big thing of zip ties?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe someplace called Storehouse that also happens to be called Harbor Freight. Look at that. I am not a shill. No, seriously, they're not paying me. As you can see, this capacitor here, I wasn't able to get the same type that has a lug. They actually do make these, and you can buy them, but for some reason they were 3 times the price. So what we're going to do here is just zip tie this guy. And he lives right down here next to this starting capacitor. So, no big deal. This is kind of overkill. Okay, we got wires over here. Let's see if I can do this without damaging something. Oh! Jacketing is a lot harder than the other one.
Is that because it's been sitting outside?
No, it's probably just different type of material. Normally jacketing, if it's been sitting for a long time like this plastic stuff, it'll get, if it's been exposed to heat and it's just been outside all the time.
It's brittle, right?
Yes, it gets brittle, then the material will crack off if you try to move the wires.
But that's not what's happened here?
No, this is just nothing's. It's just tougher to strip than the other one.
All right then.
Other jacketing. So.
You want a couple of these guys here?
Yeah, I suppose. I guess we gotta attach these wires somehow. So. Okay. Let's give myself a little room there. Pretty simple. So brown to blue and blue to blue, yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, that works,
Just
right?
whatever you do, just make sure the blue goes to the other blue.
Oh, okay. Well, but he said to cut the red wire, right? Not the blue one. I don't know. I'm not even sure this is the right crimp tool. So hey, let's find out.
Snug?
Yeah, I don't think that's going anywhere.
Cool.
That's probably the important part. Probably? It is. Yes, that is the... I don't know why I'm saying probably. Okay. We got these guys. Let's see if I can get this in here. out.
You need me to hold that while you crimp it? You got it.
I got this.
I'm kind of extraneous to this process because electricity kind of terrifies me. So
Greg, you're
anything
talking-
involving wiring. Nobody said you could talk, Greg. I got nothing else to do.
Oh, okay. That's all right. You need to pull out the sports commentator voice and be like, oh.
Well, you got mad the last time I called you Chet, so.
Oh, yeah, I didn't understand the joke.
I don't know. I was just doing sports commentator shit.
No, if it was a Simpsons thing. Like, did they call him Chet in any of those?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't think so. Yes, I would, Kent.
Okay, so it looks like, let's pull back out here a little
You got
bit.
a whole lot more wire than you had before.
Yeah, we'll just, that's the magic of zip ties, right?
Sure.
So it goes in here.
We'll just wrap it up around these propeller blades here. And
Yeah, no, that'll help with the starting and stuff.
Yeah.
If I, as you can see, it's down there, next to this start capacitor. I'm gonna go ahead and zip tie that in, and this extra wire here will zip tie that up so it's not dangling in the breeze and
Now-
in the fan blades.
Yeah. Now, if you were, while Mike's working on this, I'll talk some more. If we had had audio in our first video on this subject, you would have heard us say that the symptom, the problem that we were having with the compressor in the first place, was that it was turning over, and then kind of petering out. And that made a lot of sense when we cracked this thing open and found, the start capacitor was sitting there doing great, and the run capacitor had exploded part of its guts all over the inside. Makes sense, it would start, but then it would go to kick over to the run, and it would not work. So that was
Yeah, it
good
was.
sense.
In hindsight, I'm kind of glad the audio wasn't on that because,
Okay.
like, the troubleshooting skills, it was pretty obvious in hindsight that the capacitor should have been checked out before anything else. And we started disassembling the motor. If you watch the video, again, I'll link that below.
That's true. We better make sure. Did you tighten those? These long
I
bolts
already,
here?
yeah,
Okay.
because this was all disassembled when you left last time.
I was thinking it was a little bit more disassembled than that.
Yeah, so I put everything back together except for that
You
shroud,
put
basically.
The kill switch back on.
That's the circuit breaker.
breaker.
So.
I prefer the term kill switch, even though it's not accurate.
Let's see, is that going to go anywhere here? I think if trying to find something to tie it to so it doesn't go all over the place. I suppose if I thought about it, I could have just hooked it to the capacitor, but Gumbercules.
I love that guy.
Yeah, I don't like that because I'm pulling this wire up here.
Yeah.
That fan blade, although that's
Is
just
that-
dangling in the breeze, so
Yeah.
it's pretty silly. Let me see if I can zip tie that to.
Service loop that up a little bit better.
Oh, this thing isn't plugged. Oh, thank God, it's not plugged in. I was like, sweet Jesus.
No, I went to plug it in, and then I thought, you know what? That seems like a bad idea.
I'm glad your judgment has excelled in that department, or got the better of you. I don't know. I'm really bad with words right now. Okay. I don't think this is going to matter too much. Now, we've got some shroud cover.
It's out in the open.
Shroud cover. shroud, cover shroud. That's the same word,
That
basically.
thing, yeah.
Whatever this is, it's a shroud, and it's also like a duct for the air to come across here. And well,
Is it time to put that back on?
yeah, let's go ahead and put it back on because it does help with the cooling, supposedly.
Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, that was held on by 4 screws. Here, before you do it, let me, because there's 4 screws, but it's 2 pairs of different types. So let's see which ones.
Trying to see the machine screw versus the. I think the machine screw goes up top here.
Probably.
Yeah, this one goes in. Because the other one's going to drive right into plastic.
Yep. Okay.
So.
That makes sense.
See if we can. How does that actually. Oh, I see. The shroud held the cable out of the way, sort of.
Yeah.
Huh.
Hopefully we didn't jack up the positioning of the shroud too much.
I don't think so. If we can. Okay.
You want to try firing it up before we put the shroud back on?
We could. Yeah, we could do that. Let me just try to fit this somewhere else. Under here, maybe. Yeah. There we go. How about that? That looks better. This should be able to get out of the way there. And okay. Well, if you want to fire it up without that, let's go ahead.
That seems like the thing to do.
Less screws to remove.
Yeah.
And we'll.
Put on some squint before we do it, though.
I'm going to turn down this magical microphone. We're going to do a little test run here. Okay, all right. That, as you can see, is now working. It didn't chuggle or die on us or anything funky like that. The capacitor didn't explode. Actually, that's a good. Where's my IR gun?
Oh, I don't know where yours is. I was just playing with mine earlier. I used the laser on it to play with my cat.
Yeah, okay.
That's good for the camera, I'm sure.
It actually does nothing. So
Well, shows what I am.
let's see. Got about 80 degrees on that cap. That one's similar. Yeah.
Well, it's about 80 degrees in here, so that's not...
Yeah, and the motor windings are about 88. Body, let's check the head here. 150 on the head. Yeah, I believe that.
Little toasty?
Yeah, a little toasty. It needs that fan shroud. Yeah, I don't know. I would say...
I would call that a success.
Yeah, I think so.
The compressor runs, and just as it always has...
Yeah.
Despite, if you'd heard the commentary in the last video...
Which you didn't.
Despite, I've had it for 5 years now, and I'm the first to admit I haven't taken very good care of it. And despite that, it still holds pressure very well. It's always been a reliable tool right up until we blew up that capacitor. So the fact that we replaced that capacitor and it gets right back trucking again is no surprise to me. And that's awesome. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very simple. I'm glad it was simple and not something... In the first video, I was concerned because it had been left outside for a while, or at least that was where it was stored for most recently, and I was concerned that maybe there was some sort of corrosion in the windings or something, a fouled bearing or something, because everything else on the thing is starting to rust up like nothing other. There's no enamel on the steel plates for the outside of the motor, and the things that are aluminum obviously start rusting, but cast iron head has a little rust on it, just some surface rust. So I was concerned that something might have gotten gummed up, or maybe an animal got in there, but
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, it's apt to do. You leave something outside.
Something covered like that.
Yeah. So no, it really was just that capacitor. If you look at the video, see you take it apart, and hey, look at that. It blew its guts out. So put a new one in. Works like a charm. And yeah, I think we're done here for the night.
I think this is our first great success story on this stream. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to do more. Just need to break more things so we can fix them.
Well, we'll
and
have to cast that part again. That'll
yeah,
be our second great success.
Yeah. No, I think maybe next Wednesday, or we'll see what we can do. Try to get a good schedule here. So far, we've been doing Wednesdays. So, all right. With that, I'll say good night, and thanks for watching.